In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a super clean high taper with a dark below haircut up top. So let's get into it. I believe being able to do the quote unquote normal haircuts or the everyday haircuts that come into the barbershop, when you're able to do those very well, I think it puts you in a great position because it's going to be the majority of what you do and it's a strong foundation to build on. So this haircut is super simple. All we're going to be doing is lowering down the top to a 5 guard. Now this actually took quite a while of coaching. This client used to come in and just get a number 2 all the way around, which was still clean, but since it was so short, the blend didn't pop as much, and his lineup didn't look how I thought it could look if he kept it darker. You know what I'm saying? So now we convinced my client to take it down to a 5, and just because of the grain of his hair, I go against the grain, and then afterwards I'll comb it all down and go with the grain with the 2 guard just to smooth it down. As you can see, his hair is pretty wavy, so right here I have my 2 guard with the lever closed, and we're going with the grain just to get it to lay a little better. And this is a great foundation to start on. As you can see, this blend is gonna hit because the hair is so dark and his skin is lighter. That transition is really going to pop. So now let's get into the high taper. So for the high taper, we're gonna come in and establish our bald line at the top of the arch and where the ear connects to the head. Now this client went to another barber in between haircuts, and that last barber had gave him a low to mid taper, but we had been doing a high taper. He just kind of didn't know how to explain it. So when he came back, he really emphasized he wanted the taper that we had been doing. I believe the high taper fits this client a lot better than a lower mid taper would, just for the simple fact that he has a larger forehead. So I believe that when you get a haircut that blends out the arches, it shortens up your vertical bars enough to where I feel like it gives the illusion that your hairline is a little smaller, just because the vertical bar isn't as long. It doesn't go from the top of your forehead to the bottom. You kind of fade it out right at the bottom of the vertical bar, and I believe it just looks a lot cleaner, especially when you look at it from the front. So I established my bald line, then I went lever open, got rid of the line in between. So above that, I'm gonna grab my 1 guard with the lever open and do the same exact thing. So I'm gonna come in and flare off the shape of his head. So you'll notice with my guidelines, I wanna be able to see them, but I don't want them to be so harsh to where it's really difficult to get rid of them. So what I'm doing is giving it a light flick at the top of that guideline just to make it a little easier. And then I went ahead and closed up that 1 guard to lighten up the line in between. Now we're gonna grab our 2 guard open. Now this 2 guard open, it should blend into the length that we took the hair down to, which is that 5. So you'll see I'm coming in and scooping out, but it is going to leave quite a bit of weight at the top. So you'll see me move on to a bigger guard here after this. So now we're gonna drop down to our 1.5 open, and we're gonna start blending down. So I always like to start off getting rid of a line with the lever open because you can always take more hair off, but if you cut too much hair off, then it's gone and you have to take the fade higher. So always start lever open. It's a bit of a safety net. That's what I like to do, and hopefully it can help you as well. And now for the last line, we're gonna come in with the 1/2 guard open, and we're gonna use the corner of the blade just to lighten up that line, and then we'll close that lever little by little as needed. And you can already see this taper is coming together very nicely, especially once we put the details into it. And in this haircut, I am using my JRL Onyx. And now we're going to detail the bottom of that taper with no guard. And we're really utilizing the corner of the blade here because what that's going to do is lighten up those dark spots and make that blend look a lot better. Now we're going to grab our 3 guard with the lever open. And this should really blend into the 5. So I'm going to start off open, flaring off the shape of his head, and then I'll go ahead and close it as needed. Now if you guys are enjoying this tutorial thus far, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And now we're going to get into the other side and do the same thing. So we're going to start off at the top of the arch and where the ear connects to the head, and we're going to begin our taper. Now, if you feel like you've been on YouTube and yes, there's good tutorials, but you wish you could go a little more in depth and ask more questions directly related to your situation, I have news for you. So I have an online training program called Dre Clipper Hands Academy, where I teach barbers obviously how to cut hair at a very high level, but I go a lot more in depth in sharing my system of cutting in order to give you quality haircuts in an efficient manner consistently, as well as direct access to me and my community of barbers that have joined the program as well. So if that is something you are interested in, you can join Dre Clipper Hands Academy by tapping the link in my bio. I believe my online training program will help barbers that are new as well as old get to the next level in their barbering career. I teach you how to build clientele, like I said, how to cut hair at the highest of level. So again, if you're interested in that, tap the link in my bio. So we have our one guard here with the lever all the way open, and we're coming in and flicking out, and we're just working our way up step by step. Now we're gonna grab our two guard with the lever all the way open, and again, not trying to create too harsh of a line. And you'll notice every time I pass the clipper, I also comb down the hair. And that's because when you come in with your guard against the grain, you're pushing up the hair. So in order to lay it back down so you can get a nice consistent blend, you want to go ahead and brush or comb that down. And now we're just working with the 1.5 right below that two guard with the lever open. Taking our time, and you can see towards the corner, it kind of bunches up and curls or waves really right there. So what I'm going to do is come in with my 1.5 with the grain just to try to smooth it down just a little better. And now to get rid of the last line, just like we did on the other side, we're going to use our half guard to get rid of that last line. And you can really see what I mean from this angle as far as it giving the illusion of shortening up his forehead, just because there's not as much hair. Because what I say, why people's foreheads look bigger is because there's reference points, right? From the eyebrow to the hairline, from the eyebrow to the vertical bar. So if you're able to blend out that arch area, it just gives less of a reference point, and like I said, can give the illusion of a smaller forehead, at least until it grows back, right? So now we're gonna reverse taper into the beard. So I came in open, got rid of the line in between, and now we're gonna tap with our one guard to blend into his beard. So we are gonna take this down to a one guard, but we didn't decide that into the end. So right here, I'm actually just trying to blend into what he has, and then I'll go ahead and take it down later. So now, to soften everything up and really attack those dark spots I was talking about, I grabbed my thinning shears. And I like using the thinning shears because it'll blend it out without taking off too much. And now after we do the side tapers, I like to line up the nape, which is around the ear going towards the back, because I believe doing a neck taper is a lot easier when you already have it lined up. I know for me, when I first started cutting hair, I would always make one side of the neck taper higher than the other, and then the line wouldn't be as dark once I lined it up, and it would just kind of look crooked. So this right here helped me a lot. Before getting into the taper, I would just line up his neck and then do the blend. But you want to be sure to not take this in too far. You want to keep it as natural as possible, while at the same time get rid of all those fuzzy, peach fuzz hairs. So that's what I'm doing here. We have a nice clean line, and now we're gonna go to the other side and do the same exact thing. And you'll see around the ear, I'm using the corner of my blade. That is just gonna help me get behind the ear and lessen the risk of me taking off more hair than needed. Because if I was to put that whole blade on the back of the head, you might not account for one side, and you'll cut into it, and that's what you don't want to do. So you want to just use the corner of one side of the blade to establish that line, and then once we get towards the bottom of the neck, then you can put the full blade on there. And now let's get into the taper. So we're going to start off with our bald line, establishing right below the bottom of the ear. And you can kind of already see how giving yourself the neckline first gives you guidelines to work within. So it's going to make it a lot cleaner, a lot simpler. Now we're going to shave down the bottom, with our shaver. This is going to add some longevity to the haircut. Now we're gonna come in with the lever all the way open, and we're gonna go up about a little more than a 1/4 inch, just because on the back of the head we have a lot more surface area or canvas to work with. So you want to make sure that you give yourself good width guidelines in order to make this blend, as consistent and gradual as possible. And now we'll close up that lever, and we'll come in close, and as we move up within this guideline, we'll open up that lever notch by notch. So you'll see every time I take it higher, I open up that lever until we are fully open at the top of that guideline. Then we're gonna grab our 1 guard with the lever open, and we're repeating that system and repeating that process. I always say having a system of cutting just builds consistency, it builds confidence, and you can apply it to every single haircut, so it just reduces stress as well. So hopefully the system I'm showing you today helps. And like I said, if you want to go more in depth with my hair cutting system, join my online training program. Link is in my bio. So you'll see I'm combing down the hair every time I pass the clipper, and we're almost done with this taper. So now we have our 2 guard open, and I'm coming in and scooping out as I get towards the top of the back of the head. And that's because I don't want this taper to be too high. I want it to be a mid taper, which doesn't go above the occipital bone. Really, no taper should ever go above the occipital bone. And now we're going to start blending down. So now I have my 1.5 with the lever open. And like I always say, we'll close that notch by notch or little by little until it is completely blended. Tapers are definitely one of the simplest haircuts that you can do. But really, once you can do a nice blurry taper, I believe you can do a nice blurry fade as well, because all a fade is a taper all the way around the head. It's just a matter of if you do it low, you do it mid, you do it high. But once you have that system, you can apply it to any hairstyle. Now for the last line, we're going to come in with that lever open. See how much hair it takes off, and if we need to go closer in order to erase that line, we'll close up that notch a little more. And you'll see when I get towards the lower guards, I use a lot of the corner of the blade. This is just to get very fine-tuned and detailed with that taper. And now, like I said, we are going to lower down his beard. So we grabbed our 1 guard, and we're just going to give it that shadow effect. So my client's beard isn't super dense. So in order to give the illusion of it being fuller, I think a shadow works really well, and it's easier to maintain. But from this angle, that taper is looking super clean. And you'll notice I went straight to the beard as opposed to the hairline, because what we're going to do is wash his hair before we line it up. It was just a client's preference. So with the beard, I'm going to have him blow a bubble. Then I go to the top of the beard and connect those 2 points in the middle. Having those reference points is just going to help not pushing the beard line too low and keeping it as high as possible. Now we're just shaving down the bottom, being careful to not irritate our client's skin or cut. And now after we do the beard, we're going to go ahead and take our client to the shampoo bowl. And this is just to get rid of any hair that, we cut. Give them a nice clean canvas, especially since we're applying enhancements. So I don't always wash clients' hair. But if I do, and if they already came in showered, it makes sense to cut the hair, wash it, get rid of all the little hairs, then line it up and apply the enhancements. Because if we want the enhancements to last, if the hair's already clean and we apply it to a clean head, they don't have to worry about going home and showering and rinsing it out. So that's what we're doing here. Now we're gonna go ahead and blow dry it down and get it ready for our lineup. And honestly, lining up hair that is freshly washed is the best thing you can do. The hairline just hits at a whole nother level. So if you can do that, I always suggest it. It's just a little more time consuming. But as you can see, before we get into the lineup, I started with the vertical bars, and then I'm gonna go to the top. And I believe, just like I always say, reference points are so important, because when you line up the vertical bars, it gives you a clear distinction of where to cut into the hairline to make it straight, right? Because people always say, man, you push them back, but in all honesty, every lineup is a pushback. There's very rare that you meet someone who just has a perfectly straight lineup. So you have to cut into it in some way. It's just some lineups are more acceptable of a pushback than others, right? You never want to be too drastic. So you can see on this left side, I had to raise it a little bit, but then we'll bring that straight across to his right side to give him that straight line. Especially with the lighter corners, we want to line up the hair in the darkest spot as possible. But you don't want to take it to the darkest spot because then you'll have a U. But you want to line it up in the darkest spot possible that's low and bring it straight across. So you might have to raise up the middle just slightly. And now we're going to bring it all to the middle and give him that nice clean straight hairline. And once we do it naturally, we're going to go ahead and enhance it. This is obviously up to you. You don't have to enhance the haircut. It's all client's preference and your preference as well. So now we're going to put our enhancement card and spray away. Now you want to be sure to not make it too dark. You want to keep it as light as you can. And now we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. But as you can see, man, this haircut is hitting. Everything's coming together very nicely. And now we're going to put the cherry on top and recline our client and get them right with the razor work. This is really going to take that haircut to a whole nother level. Get rid of all those stubbles and make that hairline look HD. I don't know about you, but every time I recline my client and look at the haircut, I feel like that blend is always super blurry. That thing is looking clean. Again, if you like this video so far, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And now to finish it off, we're going to go ahead and get a light pomade. This is just to lay down all those little hairs that might be sticking up and give it that nice polished look. And after you finish the cut, you want to show the client the mirror. Don't be the barber that just takes the cape off and sends them on their way. But fam, if this video helped you in any way, shape, or form, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And I will catch y'all next time. Peace.